Hey, welcome to Sunday Live Spiritual Direction and Soul Care every Sunday at 2 p.m. Eastern. I am actually in the Central Standard Time right now. It's 1 p.m. where I am right now because my family and I got a little getaway to this beautiful city of Chicago where I grew up, and we are hanging out with our girls and we're having an incredible time this weekend over the President's Day weekend. Put it in the chat. Let me know where you are listening or watching from, even if it's on the replay. Let us know where you're watching and how your weekend is going. I'm so excited to dig into the material that we're looking at today. We've been looking at seeing miracles all around. We talked about coming alive last week through change. And today we're just going to talk a little bit about purpose, and we're going to go a little deeper on purpose. We're going to talk about how we can use the energy of regret, knowing who we are, but then looking at our regrets as a way to move us forward. Have you ever thought that regret might be something that is beneficial in like a non-shaming sort of way? So we're going to dig into that as well as kind of an outgrowth of talking a little bit about purpose, about our purpose, the roles we play in, knowing who we knowing who we are. For me, Jesus is, I'm just taken with Jesus, right? Like he's this amazing master, he's this amazing teacher, he's this amazing example, he's this healer, he's God's expression of God's love to us, and so much so that we say that Jesus is God revealed to us, fully human, fully God, showing us how to be exactly what we're supposed to be as human beings, with all while at the same time revealing the deep heart of all that God is to us and for us. So I am really excited about when we think about purpose. Like one of the best examples of really knowing purpose is Jesus, right? Even from a young age, the stories of Jesus. When he's 12, he goes with his family on a trip. They go away to the big city of Jerusalem. Like my family's gone away to the big city of Chicago. They go away to the big city of Jerusalem for Passover, and he's lost. They can't find him, and they have to go all the way back to the city, and they find him in the temple. And when they're like, hey, you really worried us, like, don't you understand what you did to us, what you put us through? He's like, I've got to be here being about my Father's business. Like Jesus knew, even as he was growing and developing as a human being, Jesus knew the very core of who he was and what his purpose was, right? And as he got older, he talked about it all the time with his disciples and his friends. And one of the most beautiful passages, in the Gospels is in John 13, where Jesus talks about how he knew his hour was there, his moment had come, and that he loved his disciples all the way to the end. He loved them all the way to the end. So he knew what his purpose was and how he was uniquely expressing the love of God. And at rock bottom, I think that's what everybody's purpose really is. No matter how much you push it through your unique personality and experiences, at rock bottom, we're all in our own unique way here to express love, here to show love, here to walk in love and to do no harm and not add to how things are hard as it is in life many times, but to make things easier and better and lighter and joyful and full of life, So, rock bottom, that's what I think it is for all of us. But we all have to figure out what our unique purposes, our unique expression is, for the time that we have here. And so I hope it's going to be a really refreshing time to talk and chat together, as we talk about purpose together. And I hope it is a healing conversation. I hope you get an imagination for transformation today. Because some of you are saying in the comments that you've had a hard week, right? And I want it to be like a healing end to the last weekend, a great kickoff to the next week, a better week for you. Mark, you're the one who's saying that you had a hard week. And Diane talks about regret too. She shared already. I'm going to throw these in the chat, see if I can throw it in the chat overlay here. Let's see here. Yeah, Diane says, I've regretted for years not getting my associate's degree out of high school. I went back in my early 50s and finished in December. No regret now. Interestingly, now I'm trying to figure out my next purpose. I Love it. I absolutely love it. Let me hide this and we'll keep moving along here. So, yeah, some of you are getting it right already. So, I'm excited to see what happens as we talk about purpose and the power of regret. Oh, we got some more comments coming in. You guys are on fire today, so I'm just gonna throw in the chat overlay here, and we can have it going. Terry says, I had a phone interview with an in-person callback interview, and another company is setting up a phone interview, so my transition has some hope to it right now. That's so awesome. So moving forward, right, finding purpose, expressing our purpose, this is critical to who we are every second of our lives. And this is one of the biggest things that we're figuring out from when we're little all the way to the very, very end, figuring out purpose. When I think about purpose and as we get older, especially how life can it feel like can hinder a sense of purpose. I think of like the last few years of my dad's life as he struggled with Parkinson's. The last 3 years, like that's a big question for me: is the power of purpose and what was the point of struggling and having a hard time being present and not feeling good for the last 3 years of your life, right? So purpose is a big question every stage of life that we're in, and it kind of goes to the very the core of our spiritual development and our spiritual growth. Jesus shows the way, and he shows us that how deeply human it is to navigate and understand and grapple with purpose. And when we are trying to figure out our purpose, it's not a problem to be solved, but it's like you can take comfort in the fact that you are figuring out how to be the most human that you can be, which means that you're walking and following Jesus. If that's really important to you, and that framing is important to you, you're not failing when you're trying to figure out your purpose. It's not a problem to figure out your purpose. You're really walking in the most human thing that you can do. You're really honoring who God made you to be as a human, even while you're trying to figure it out. You're not waiting to arrive. Even the process of figuring out your purpose is part of being a human and walking and being fully who you're meant to be. So welcome to the journey. Let's not judge ourselves as we're figuring out what we're supposed to be. Wayne Muller is a writer and thinker, and he says that the heart of most spiritual practices is simply this. The heart of any spiritual practice, most of them, is really simply this: remember who you are. Remember who you are. Remember what you love. Remember what is sacred. Remember what is true for you. Remember that you will die and that this day is a gift. Remember how you want to live, how you wish to live. Remember those things. That's the core of almost every single spiritual practice. The spiritual journey is to remember. Remember who you are. Remember what you love. Remember what is sacred. Remember what is true. Remember that you're going to die, and so that this day is a gift, right? Like, embrace your mortality. I work every day with people who do not remember this, who resist this idea of their mortality, and it makes everything so much harder, and remember how you want to live, right? Diane asks, can we have more than one purpose at a time? Absolutely, because we wear so many different hats. We have so many different roles. And that's what we're going to get into here in a little bit. That's a great question today. You guys are coming with some great questions and comments, right? So remembering who we are, remembering what it is that we love, remembering what our truth is, remembering what is sacred to us, remembering our vision for how we want to live and doing that, right? And remembering that every day is a gift and that time is limited, right? So make it count, right? This is the core of spirituality. This is the core of spiritual growth, is remembering these things and then acting on them, right? Back in May of 1995, the actor who played Superman, Christopher Reeve, was also involved in equestrian competitions. And he was in a horse riding competition in Virginia, and his horse abruptly stopped right before a jump, and it threw him off the horse, and he broke his neck, and he became a quadriplegic, like paralyzed from the neck down, right? And so he was in a wheelchair for the remaining 9 years of his life. And immediately after the injury, he said to his wife, Dana, maybe you should just let me go, because he didn't want to be a burden to her, right? And she said to him, "You're still you, and I love you. You're still you. You're still the person that I've known all this time. You're the person who my experience with you is the person that I've known, and that's who I love. And so, no, I'm not giving up on you." That's what she said to him, right? And obviously, he's not able to function the way he'd been functioning, right? He was unable to walk. He had to depend on a ventilator, right? He had to rely on other people for personal care, right? So he seemed, on the surface, right, all those outward parts of us, that was obviously very different. But the core of who he was and the core of who he had been to those who loved him and those who he loved, right, that remained, right? That remained. That was a blessing to his family, right? And it fueled a busy life, right, of activism on behalf of people, and medical research and disability rights, all the way to his death. So remember who you are, right? And who you are is not static. Who you are, with every single moment and phase of your life, finds new expression of the true who you are, right? The idea of who you are may not be called forth as starkly as it was for, Christopher Reeve in this accident, but it's there, right? Both in the face of challenges and in the course of everyday life. There is a you that gives your life direction and energy, right? Some of you guys are bringing in some great comments here. Let's see. Mark says, "I'm struggling with my role in my immediate family is supposed to be there as a lifetime movie of events unraveling currently that I don't know what my purpose is in it. The serenity prayer anymore is really ringing true." Yeah. Yeah. Like so much the key to happiness and purpose is first coming to know and understand what you can control and what you can't control, right? And to know that if you can't control it, then it's not your job, right? You can't do anything about it, right? One of the ways we drive ourselves crazy and lose sight of our purpose is when we get concerned about other people's, what other people are going to think, what other people are going to do, what other people are going to say. You can't give that power to people, right? That's not in your control. So that's not part of your purpose to navigate, right? Judy, so glad to see you on. Judy says, "I think that those that suffer with Parkinson's or other dysfunction that challenges their physical interaction with the outer material world may be experiencing the greatest movement of their soul from within, even more effectively other people without. By returning to their essential spiritual self, all the material accidentals are stripped away, because all true communication is of the invisible realm, even if we are as of yet unaware of what we know." Man, Judy, it's so good to have you back on here. It's good. We've missed you. I know you've been navigating a lot with losing your mom, and I just love that you're back here in full force, bringing healing wisdom. Like, that's something I'm going to ponder a lot going forth today, because that's one of the big outstanding questions for me after my dad died, and is like, what was the purpose of his 3 years of increasing lack of mobility and lack of cognitive ability to engage? Why did he have to go through that? And how you're framing that has given me a lot to think about. That maybe it wasn't a waste of time for him. Maybe he had a lot of time to finally be inward, and we don't know what's going on inside, right? Maybe he needed that 3 years to commune with his true essential self and prepare. Oh, I'm gonna cry. Oh my gosh, that's so good, man. I love this community. You guys are on it today. You guys are bringing wisdom, man. If you're watching this too on the replay, just fire in some comments too. And we look back at comments as well. Share your wisdom, share your growth, share your searching. Even Mark is sharing about his search, Diane sharing about her search, Judy's sharing about insights that she has. Let us know how you think and what you feel. So who are you? Who are you in your purpose, right? Who are you, right? There is a psychiatrist named Eric Cassell, and he wrote a short but very elegant description of what it means to be a person. He says, "We all have a past, we have a cultural and social context, we have roles. We have a past, we have a cultural and social context, and we have roles, plural, roles that we play. And then he makes the case that we suffer, right? We suffer when we have events that disrupt the key elements of who we are. That's how we suffer, is when we like for instance, my role as being a husband and a father, right? Being a chaplain, being a neighbor, being a son, right? Being a son-in-law, being a brother-in-law, being a community member. I'm not kidding. Being a dog owner, right? Whatever it is, right? A Cubs fan since I grew up here in Chicago, right? I love to cook, right? Any disruption to any of those roles, right? Any disruption to any of those roles would call for some adjustment, right? And to a lesser or greater extent, depending on what was happening and how deeply they were disrupted, maybe some soul searching, right? Maybe what about for you? What are your roles? We wear lots of different roles, Yeah. Diane, you're a cat mom, right? Yeah. What are these other roles that we all have, right? Um, when I was sick a couple weeks ago and I couldn't go to work and I love my work, right? That was a cause of suffering for me because I couldn't express and be a big part of who I am, right? When I feel like I'm having a hard time connecting with my kids, right? Where I'm just not getting through to them, right? Or if I feel like I'm dropping the ball as a dad and I'm maybe, for whatever tools I have, I don't have all the tools I need. Nobody does. And sometimes the way I parent isn't helpful and it's hurtful, right? And then that makes me feel bad about it. That's suffering, you know. Um, when there's distance between me and like say my mom lives in Florida, right? And I can't be there to help her with things. That makes me feel like I'm not being a good son, right? That's one of my roles. That's part of my purpose in life, and figuring out how to be a good son from a distance, right? Is part of my role as well. A long distance son, right? I'm figuring out how to do that. And when that doesn't feel like it's clicking, then we suffer, right? That's what so much of our suffering is connected to. When our roles get disrupted. How do you think about this? Have you ever thought about this? When you think of what you struggle with in life, what role is being disrupted, right? Your sense of self, who you are, what's being disrupted or restricted, right? This is a really interesting way to talk about purpose and talk about suffering, right? Get an understanding of our suffering. But roles and social cultural context also, right? They don't always adequately frame, they don't fully flesh out who you are, right? So some people write about how the essence of who you are lies in your relationships with and your relationship with what is sacred for you, right? What do you love? Like what you love. Like one of the best things I ever heard was when we meet somebody for the first time. When you meet somebody for the first time, instead of saying, what do you do? Say, well, what are you into? What do you love? What do you care about? Isn't that an interesting question too? Danny, so good to see you. I'm glad you're. Who am I is a question I go back to often. Yes, it's a core question, right? It's one of these core spiritual questions. And you see these kinds of questions. Questions are way more interesting, right, than answers. This is where religion goes wrong when we think that we have a one-size-fits-all universal answer for everybody, right? But even when things seem to go wrong in the original stories, the origin stories in the book of Genesis, right? How does God show up on the scene? God shows up on the scene and says, where are you? Where are you? Where are you? Where are you? Right? That's your social cultural context. That's a preceding question to get you back to who are you? Where are you? Where do you find yourself? Where are you? Right? These are really good questions. This is key, right? What do you love? What do you care about? Right? So when we back up to the idea of roles, though, why do any of your roles matter to you? Right? Why does your role matter to you? When you think about the different roles that you play, why is that role matter? Because that's what you love, right? Why does that role matter to you? Right? What is it? Right? What is it about being a sister or a brother or a son or a pastor or an accountant, right? Or a volunteer at the migrant shelter or a nurse, or I don't know, the person who calls the bingo numbers at your bingo hall. I don't care what it is, right? Why do these roles matter to you? Think about all your different roles that you have in your life, all the different hats you wear, because we all wear lots of different hats. Why do those roles matter to you? Right? Because that tells you more about who you love and what you love, and that tells you more of who you are, right? Oh man, we're getting so many comments in here. Melissa says, one day recently during a bit of grief, I was feeling a little less than. I had to write out the depth of what being a mother is, aka personal stylist, hairdresser, personal chef, personal motivational counselor, and coach, personal DJ when she takes a bath, and personal therapist that she can unload on, etc. Because sometimes writing that down, that I am a mother, feels like it needs more depth, self-compassion. We do enough, we are enough. Oh my gosh, we need to have a get together. We need to have a get together where we get everybody out together and we get like a rotating panel. And some of y'all just bring, I don't even know why I talk on a Sunday, because y'all are wise. Y'all are wise and y'all get it. Y'all are wise and y'all get it. I love it. I absolutely love it, right? I absolutely love it. Why? So why do these roles matter to you, right? I love that. I love this description of motherhood. I love this, right? What are the underlying values for you that give energy and heart to the relationships in your life? Think about this, right? There was a person who was reflecting on her role as a mom, right? As a community volunteer and a part-time writer, where a person said, I guess they all have to do with putting a little goodness into the world. That's good. Remembering that she's a person who brings goodness to the world is important for two reasons. Because first, it provides a values-based framework for for looking at how she engages with any of the things in her life, right? And second, it provides this kind of transcendent and enduring and unchangeable framework for just being you, right? An unshakable framework for being you, right? Finding this transcendent thing. I'm just trying to put a little good in the world, right? Trying to put a little good in the world. Judy says, we merge with what we love. We identify it in a sense as our other expression of love. True missions in life are perceived when the intellect accepts that we all generate from and are all part of the same one source. Physical roles are not what we are, but relationships of love can tell us something about the spiritual and familial nature of God, what is real beneath the role or the form. Oh my gosh. Judy Gabinski, please write a book, girl. Please, like just come back here and just like copy paste all your comments and like reorganize them and put them into a book, please, because I would buy that. Please. I mean, my God, today, that's a whole word. Bring in the word. And it reminds me of St. Augustine, who says, like water goes to the lowest place, it follows its weight, right? Like he says, our loves are our weight. Our loves draw us down to our deepest, lowest place, right? Lowest in the sense of our deepest place, our deepest, truest selves, right? I love that. I absolutely, absolutely love that. Mark says, I think ultimately I want to see people I love and care about succeed, to advance, to evolve, and become better. This is what makes what is happening with my family so painful, is it seems like some of them have plateaued. It's gotten to the point where I've had to make a choice to either stand my ground with the boundaries I've set or go right back into the expected role that I've played ad nauseum for years. I'm choosing the former, and it's the hardest thing I've ever done. Go boldly, go forth boldly, because as you grow, right, relational cultural theory tells us this, right? That the way we grow is on the basis of action within relationship, right? So if you move out of the prescribed role, right, into a new role, you do this movement of action. It makes everybody grow. It's inviting everybody into growth. So do it, even if it's hard, man. Maybe that's part of your purpose, is to change it up so that people can be invited into something new with no expectations about anybody else, but at the very least for you to move into roles, right? So think about this. Think about the key roles that you play in your life. That's what I want you to think about right now, the purpose. How would you put into words why those roles matter to you, right? How would you put you know, into words why those roles matter to you? And how would you put into words how you want to be in doing those roles? How do you want to live, right? And what do you think that someone who knows and loves you would say about what they actually admire about you in those roles and how you live your life? Think about the people that love you around you. What do you think they would say about you, right? And do those qualities line up with what you see or what you value in yourself, right? And in the week to come, maybe pay attention to the times when what you do, especially the small and daily things, show something of the best of who you are, right? The best of who you are. Those, just look at this week, even the small and daily things. What are the things that you do that show the best of who you are? You know, and you can get a better sense of who you are, and thus a better sense of what matters to you and what your purpose really is. Whether you're washing the dishes or mowing the lawn or doing the laundry or picking up trash on the street because your neighbor's trash can got knocked over. I don't care what it is. Little things, big things. I know some people who make a point of, especially in bad weather, gathering up all the grocery store carts that are left all over the different parts of the parking lot because, like, up here in the Midwest, it gets cold and nasty, and they bring them all in to the little cart corral so that these young kids and some people who aren't even young working there but are really struggling and working on an hourly wage job like that, um, it's just a little easier for them. That tells you something about who that person really is. You know, it's pretty amazing to me. Now, let's shift a little bit for the second half, and let's talk about regret. Okay, let's talk about regret. The poet David White says, "You get this one life. And if you do not have your deepest desires in sight," and it's interesting that the word desire comes from the old Latin word meaning of the stars. If you don't keep your star in sight, your desires in sight, you're in danger of losing everything that is precious to you and living out a life that is like a shell. That's what David White says. So remembering who you are is not some idle or academic exercise, right? You get this one life. You get this one life, and your desires have deep, eternal implications. You know what I mean? And uh, the here I'm losing track here. Embracing who you are has this sense of eternality, right? It has this sense of urgency. So what do you do that is of the stars? What do you do when it comes to your desires? What choices do you make that align with the desires and the values and the passions that are sacred for you? Okay. I mean, certainly getting a vision is part of this process, right? Like you can do things and do retreats like vision boards and blah, 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 all that stuff, right? You know, like don't want to dismiss any of that, right? That's part. But if your life is about compassion, you look for places where you can embody kindness, right? Where you can embody generosity. If your life is about curiosity and fascination with the way things work, then maybe you explore journalism or research or something, right? If your life is about understanding and honoring other people who are coming from a different place, right? You might sign up for like a Peace Corps or something like that, you know? Um, Oops, sorry, muted my mic here. Um, so, here, where were we? So, uh, you might, if your life's about miracles, seeing the miracles, right, and partaking in the joy of living, right, you might love hiking, right, or volunteering at a national park, or spending your days in the natural world, or learning to play an instrument and spend your evenings with fellow musicians, or whatever, right? The possibilities are endless, right? You get what I'm saying, right? But the urgency and the eternality of your deepest desires can be approached from the other direction as well. and that is regret. That's about regret. So let me make a case for regret today. Okay. Let me make a case for regret. Regret is one of those human experiences that can be terribly uncomfortable and remarkably useful. Terribly uncomfortable and remarkably useful. Um, some people, regret not taking a foreign semester in college around foreign language or a study abroad, right? And so they miss having being fluent in a second language, right? I studied Japanese in college. I kind of speak a little bit of it, but I've started to get on my Duolingo app and I'm learning Spanish because I find that Spanish is probably a lot more useful, right? In this day and age. So, I can order a fish burger now and tell people I have train tickets to Chicago. And I can greet people and things like so. I'm rocking out on my Duolingo. Let me tell you, because I've always wanted to make sure that I'm back on top of being fluent, maybe in a second language and being more useful in that sense, right? Because I want to do it, right? Um, uh, so we all have different desires and regrets that we wish we had. So then we try other things, right? Looking backwards, right? Um, like some of us might think, man, I don't like the job I've done for the last 20 years. I want to try something else. Feel like I wasted time. Well, it's never too late. Like everybody publishes those like 30 under 30 lists, you know what I mean, that are out there, 30 under 30 or 25 under 25, these new up and coming people. But, like that's all good. That's great and inspiring. But like, I want to see the list of the person who was like 60 years old and went back and got their PhD or went to law school and opened a law firm or something and like advocates for like immigrant rights or something like that too, right? Like I want to hear about that too, right? Because like we're living and growing and we're learning and like regrets or hopes for things are always regret becomes this powerful tool, the energy of regret, in the fact that it can help move us forward. When regret comes about is about miring ourselves and just looking back of I wish, I shoulda, coulda, woulda. Nah. But when we harness the energy of regret to move forward, there's something really, really powerful about regret. It's terribly uncomfortable, but it's remarkably useful, right? Like looking backward, regret then needs this like self accountability so that we don't bog down, right? It's like a combination of self accountability that we aren't bogging down and self compassion. And so the role of regret is it helps us adapt, it helps us move forward, right? That's where the energy of regret becomes powerful. It lies in helping us move forward, look forward and move forward. So what have, like think about it. What have your shortcomings and failures taught you about what you need to learn, right? What have your failures and shortcomings taught you about what you do actually really care about and how you want to dig in on it, right? You know? Diane says regret was the best fire which got me back to college. Yeah, you grabbed a hold of it, you harnessed that energy, and you moved ahead. See? Like, and we can do this in every part of our life. That's the thing. That's what grace is. That's really what grace is the ability to move forward again and again and again and again until we die, right? We don't have to stop. And we don't have to be bogged down and frozen in the thing you feel bad about happening 20 years ago or whatever, or 5 minutes ago. I don't know what it is, right? What do the times when you have been less than you fully are show you about your deepest desires and what you really long for, right? And as you imagine approaching maybe the end of life, right? What will you hope that you will have done with your life? Right? What might you regret that you had not done? It's the whole joke about like nobody has on their headstone, at the cemetery, I wish I spent more time at the office. Nobody has that on their headstone, right? Nobody says, gosh, I wish I, gave more time, at work. I mean, unless you love work, I don't know. But you know what I'm saying, right? Gosh, I wish I spent more time doing laundry. I don't know. I mean, let's hold no illusions. Listen, let's hold no illusions that we can all become anything we want, right? I mean, there are physical limitations, right? It is highly unlikely that I am going to become strong enough and flexible enough to be you know, top rated mountain climber, right? Or, a pro basketball player or something, right? There are social and economic and cultural limitations that we face, right? Doors are open for me. There are a lot of doors that are open for me as an educated white male, right? That are closed for many other people, right? But within the circles where we travel, we do have choices about where we're going to do, what we're going to do, and about the qualities of spirit and heart with which we're going to do it. Even while we all work for justice, even as we all work for more equality and equity, right? That's part of the purpose I think people like me have in life, is to use our privilege and the doors open on behalf of others wherever we can, right? That is part of our purpose. The more we learn about the needs of justice and equity in the world, right? So it's this eternal and urgent question for us. What do you do that is of the stars, that is of your desires, right? What do you want to do, right? What haven't you done that you've always wanted to do and that you wish you did? Then go do it. If you can, go do it, right? Like, don't hold back. Let even your regrets reveal the depths of your truest purpose, right? I want to wrap up with a couple of these thoughts here, okay? So, you may recall the last line. Mary Oliver has a very famous poem called The Summer Day, and the last line says, "Tell me what it is you plan to do with your one wild and precious life." Right? What do you plan to do? Tell me, what do you plan to do with your one wild and precious life? Right? What thoughts does this line kind of bring up for you? What rises in your heart and your soul? What ideas form in your mind? Right? Notice in the week to come, then, what you do that touches on your deepest desires about who you are. Big things, how you work on that project that you're passionate about, right? And everyday things, how you reach out maybe to the older neighbor that's living next door who has no one, right? Whatever it is. And what do you think you might do going forward to further honor your deepest desires? Because that's really what the power of regret is about too, is about learning new opportunities in places where you can honor yourself, right? Who are you? What do your loves and your deepest desires tell you about who you are and what you want to be? And what do your regrets tell you about what you really truly value, and thus who you are and what your purpose really is? Judy says, "I think if you have a passion to be a mountain climber, then you suffer a physical impairment. You can still be a mountain climber, and God will bring that life to you in an even more spiritually fulfilling way. In the end, your heart's desires always come true." Yeah. Yeah. I think the universe has this really, really fascinating way of helping you work stuff out. So as you pursue your purpose, and even as you reflect on your deepest desires, trust the process. Trust that God is good and that God is full of love, and nothing else but love for you. Nothing else but mercy and grace and possibility is for you because of God's love for you, as you walk in purpose, as you discover more of who you are and the unique way that you have been wired, the unique ways that you have been called to live and walk in this life. That's what it is. Purpose all the way, baby. Purpose. Yes. Everything. It's awesome. Let me tell you, coming up here soon, on March 6th, we are going to start our journey for the season of Lent. Lent starts on Ash Wednesday, March 2nd, and then we will kick off our Lenten series for Sunday Live, called Crossing the Desert, and it is going to be awesome. It's going to be so awesome. I cannot wait to dive in to this. We're gonna throw a little music on here. We are gonna explore so much together. We're going to explore the power of letting go and learning to see, and we're gonna discover some new things about the spiritual journey as we still walk through in this season of life. Because we're in the third year of the pandemic and we're still kind of in some crazy times. And so we've got to find and remind ourselves not only who we are, but of the powerful resources that are available for us in the spiritual journey as we still continue to walk through this life and grow in our devotion to God and our love for each other. So I can't wait to get an imagination for transformation, as I like to say, and discover healing and breakthrough in the season of Lent as we learn to cross the desert together. So I cannot wait to connect with y'all. We are going to have a great season together. So be on the lookout for that. March 6th is when it starts. You guys have a great, great week as you think about who you are and what you really love and discover more and more of your purpose throughout this whole week. You guys are amazing. Love you so much, Spiritual Direction and Soul Care. See you next Sunday.